Now to Campaign 2020, no race more closely watched in Colorado than the one for U.S. Senate.
It's because the result could determine which party controls the Senate going forward. That's why we have dedicated time to profile both the candidates, Republican incumbent Cory Gardner and Democratic challenger John Hickenlooper. We begin with Gardner. Our political specialist Sean Boyd caught up with the senator as he was meeting with farmers on the Eastern Plains.
125 miles east of Denver, the small town of Flagler isn't a place most politicians take notice of. Senator Cory Gardner the exception. Every year he embarks on a farm tour, logging thousands of miles across the state, this year with his son in tow.
So anyway, we're really excited about what you've done for us.
The reason I ran for office in the first place was how we could get rural Colorado a stronger voice.
Gardner is the only statewide elected official from rural Colorado. He was born and raised in Yuma, where his family has owned a tractor dealership for more than a century.
People don't come into our farm equipment dealership and say, I hope my tractor is Republican or I hope my tractor is Democrat. They want it to work because they know it gets the job done. And that's what people expect of their elected officials.
The nonpartisan Lugar Center ranked Gardner the third most bipartisan senator. He's passed more bills into law than the entire Colorado congressional delegation combined, half of them signed by President Obama.
6 years ago, I said we'd fight for our economy, for our environment, for education, for energy. We've built a record of success on every single one.
Among his accomplishments, passing into law the biggest public lands conservation bill in a half-century and the biggest tax overhaul in more than 3 decades, convincing the president to permanently reauthorize the Land and Water Conservation Fund, put Space Command in Colorado Springs and the BLM headquarters in Grand Junction, and passed a bill to establish 811, a national suicide prevention hotline.
This is an issue that you may not win an election over, but you're certainly going to save a community over.
He was also among the first in Congress to sound an alarm on COVID, calling a hearing in January with top health officials, including Dr. Anthony Fauci. Did the administration ignore you?
Unfortunately, there were maybe a dozen senators, and all of the press in the hallway wanted to talk about was impeachment. As chair of the Southeast Asia Subcommittee, Gardner used his contacts to bring hundreds of thousands of tests en masse to Colorado. He sponsored bills to expand telehealth and help childcare providers, was instrumental in implementing the Paycheck protection program, and introduced the Restart Act to support small and mid-sized businesses, the Test Act to strengthen the nation's health preparedness, and Rehire Plan to help laid-off workers. I supported unemployment benefits and compensation from day one. In fact, I voted against many of my Republican colleagues.
He's bucked his party on other occasions, too, supporting wind and solar tax credits and sponsoring the DREAM Act.
I'm the only Republican who voted for every single immigration solution several years ago when we had them on the floor.
He's also voted for every repeal of Obamacare, but says he supports protections for people with pre-existing conditions. And while he has criticized the president at times, he supports him, which could cost him the support of unaffiliated voters who don't.
We have a chance this November to get back to what we were before the pandemic, a growing economy, growing wages, record economic growth. It needs leadership, it needs a workhorse, it needs a fighter, somebody who's going to deliver result after result to the state. And that's exactly what I have done and what I will continue to do.
Now, my interview with Gardner took place before the death of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I have talked to him since about the vacancy on the Supreme Court. He told me that although he opposed President Obama filling a seat during an election year, he supports President Trump doing so and will likely vote to confirm his nominee, Amy Coney Barrett.
You mentioned President Trump, and that could be an issue just in terms of Gardner trying to get independence. Let's talk more about the President Trump factor and Gardner's loyalty to him and how you think that's going to factor into this.
You know, top of the ticket always influences those down ballot races, and it's true that President Trump lost here in 2016. There will be some unaffiliated Coloradans who will vote against Trump and for Gardner, but there will also be Coloradans who will vote against Gardner for no other reason than he is the party of Trump. But, you know, he's somebody who's beat expectations before in 2014, so we shall see.
Yeah, he sure is. All right.